Heyo, and welcome in, you guys, to One Piece chapter 1182 predictions. So, I'm not really too sure when this chapter is going to drop. It's always a big question whenever Golden Week is around the corner. We could get the chapter leaked early. We could just not. So, with that being the case, I'm just going to go ahead and take my chances here and drop this video ASAP. So, how this works is that I like to throw my thoughts and predictions for the next chapter in a bingo format. Why? No real particular reason. I just think it's the easiest way to convey the message here. And again, this is all for fun and games. If we get a lot of these right, huge, big W's in the chat, but if we do not get any right at all, that is just how the cookie crumbles, right? It's always hard to predict exactly what we're gonna get in these damn One Piece chapters. So with that being said, to show you guys an example of what we are dealing with here, I always like to take a step back and look at last week's predictions just to see how many we got right dash wrong. And then of course we will move on to 1182 predictions. But first up, I thought that we would get a Gunko update. Last we saw, Imu did throw a Maki-Omen fireball her way. We don't really know what state she's in. Is the ice broken? Is it not? Is she conscious? Is she unconscious? We have no clue, but I thought that we could get a hint of Gunko in this latest chapter, but we did not. Granted, I will say this, while I did throw this up on the board, I did give it a relatively low percentage. So let's go ahead and mark that one off. Oh, that is a very skinny line here. Let's do this one instead. Beautiful. Oh, wow. These colors are... Jeez, man. It is looking disgusting out here. Yeah, blue, red, and green, huh? I don't even like the background. What the hell is this background even? Sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, I just Google images and I just throw it up here. I don't even know what the hell these are sometimes. Let me just go and get something new real quick. What sounds fun? One Piece... I don't know. I don't want to put a One Piece character here, because if we put a One Piece character, they're just going to be blocked by the bingo sheet. Actually, let's go with pandas. You know, I hate pandas, but last cover page, we did have a panda shark, so let's get a nice panda. All right, here we go. We're just going to run with this. Yeah, look at this fat bastard. I don't like him. I don't know what it is. I just feel like pandas are just so lazy, and they just constantly work against their own best interest. So next up, anyways, moving on from the panda talk, I thought that we would see the God Knights. You know, as much as I wanted a Loki versus Imu chapter, and even though I thought that would happen, I didn't think that Oda would spend the entirety of the chapter focused on the fight. Oda rarely does that. The last time we got that was all the way back in Wano, and before then, I don't even know, dude. I mean, even when it comes to Luffy versus Katakuri, a lot of that fight was not like a dedicated 1v1 chapter. No. Oda cut around to the cake. He cut around to Big Mom. Yeah, Oda focusing solely on this battle, I think, was huge and well welcomed. But of course, that did come at the expense of the God Knight update. Next up, I thought that Killingham would beat Jinbei and Frankie simply because he wants revenge. But again, I did give this a pretty low percentage because I was like, okay, maybe that's too quick. But even when it comes to Killingham, we still don't know where he's at. You know, the guy is MIA. We saw Jinbei, we saw Frankie, Sanji, Lilith, Bonnie, and even Nami, but no Killingham. He was last seen nearby these dudes. Where did he go? Did he blast off like St. Sommers? We have no idea. So next up, I thought that we would see a new Nidhogg potential attack or a new Haim attack. We didn't exactly get this, but we did get Ragna Izuchi. But, you know, of course, when I wrote this comment, I did think it would be Nidhogg oriented. So I'm going to be stringent on this one. I'm not going to give myself the W. Next, I thought that somebody would help Loki during the battle because there's so many characters nearby him. Again, aka, you know, Jinbei, Frankie, Nami, all these guys. I thought that somebody would at least lend him a hand. But nope, it looks like this battle is being gatekept for the gods. Next, I thought that Luffy would not join the battle. I was pretty confident in this one, simply because Luffy is the main character. I feel like this is just Oda's trope. You know, Oda always saves Luffy for the grand finale. A lot of people equate Imu to Skypia's God Enel, and if that is the case, we gotta remember, Luffy showed up after everybody got whooped. I think the same thing's gonna happen here. Of course, we did see Luffy, and he said that he wanted to spend time eating because if he's not full, he's not gonna be able to beat Imu. So, you know, even Luffy himself said, hey, I'm not joining for a minute. So now, bottom row, these predictions are all from the comment section. Yes, that is right. I do like to pull 3 comments at random, more or less random, and drop them on the bingo sheet to get some nice interaction in here, right? I always say this, but I'm just one guy. I do like to interact with the community, and I do like seeing what people have to say. And this first comment said that Emu would hit Loki so hard that he ends up dropping Ragnir. To my knowledge, Emu does hit Loki a bunch of times, but does Loki ever drop Ragnir? I don't think so. Let me just skim the chapter real quick. If it did happen, you know, it definitely wasn't focused on. Oh, it did happen. Yeah, okay, wait, do we give him the W for this one? I think so. Yeah. Look. Right here, Loki gets hit. Was this Nemesis? Yeah, it was Nemesis. He gets hit, and boom, the hammer is dropped. It's not focused on. You know, granted, this isn't like a big plot point, but he does drop it for a second. So my guy, you got the W. Look at that, man. I gave it a low percentage too. I thought Loki and Ragnar would be like this, but nope. That emo attack is potent. So next up, the commenter said that we would get Loki's eyes explained. Sadly, we didn't get that. I think next chapter, now that Loki is in his Nidhogg form, and now that his eyes are out, we will get this. But as of chapter 1181, no, that did not happen. And of course, this was a double comment. They also thought that Luffy would get kidnapped, and unfortunately, this didn't happen either. Here, let's just put an X right here, then an X right here. Next, somebody said that we would get Loki's hybrid form, and man, this is a comment dash prediction that we have been making for weeks now. Any day now, Oda is going to give us the Loki hybrid form. We can already imagine what it's going to look like. Brother, we've had so many hybrids in One Piece before. And hell, we've even had a dragon hybrid before with Kaido. We know what Loki's going to look like. Why is Oda stalling on the hybrid form? I don't know. Maybe it's because the hybrid form is going to be very special, very unique. But you know, base level, I'm just like, man, when are we going to get it? I think 1182 will be that chapter, but do we guess this again? You know, do we really guess Loki hybrid form like 50 times in a row? I don't know. So yes, that's X'd out, and now they also thought that Luffy would join the battle, and of course, that did not happen. So here we have it. We got 2 out of 9-ish correct. Not a bad score in my opinion. Let's go ahead and save this real quick. I do like to keep track of all the bingo sheets, so here we go. 1181 completed. Boom. All right, so now let's clear the Panda board for the 1182 predictions. Okay, what color should we go with for the text? I am feeling, let's go with, damn, there's not a lot of colors out there, are there? Let's go with this weird purple color. Why not? So my first prediction is that we will get a Robin and Saul update. I'm dropping this right here for no real specific reason. I just feel like because we got a full-on chapter with Loki and Emu last go-around, Oda will start splitting it up, right? All good things have to come to an end, so I do think we will start, you know, jumping around Elbpah, seeing what Robin and Saul are up to, seeing what maybe Chopper, Zoro, Sanji situation. I think we're gonna go all around the Sun Realm. As far as Robin and Saul goes, they're kind of interestingly placed because last we saw, they were at the library. They should be nearby the Emu Loki battle as well, and they should also be nearby Luffy because Luffy is eating at the library. Of course, they could have moved. Maybe they're looking for Biblo. Maybe they're looking for the books that Biblo took from the library. I think there's a lot of cool things that could happen with Robin and Saul, and I wouldn't mind just getting a panel of them. I don't want to spend the whole chapter with these guys, right? No. But I wouldn't mind a small update. All right, so now for my second prediction, I think that we could get the Straw Hats versus the God Knights. Ooh, of course, I did more or less drop this last week, so I will get specific. Last time around, I said that Killingham would fight Jinbei and Frankie, so let's nix that one just to be, you know, kind of competitive here. Not like that really means anything. Let's put not Jinbei or Frankie. There we go, yeah. I don't know why, I just feel like I don't want to throw up the same thing over and over, so why not switch it up a tiny bit? So now, for my third prediction, I do think that Emu will whip out a gun, or, get this, ballista. Yes, that is right. Emu is the gift that keeps on giving. We've seen that they are able to turn their spear halberd thing into a myriad of weapons, from a sword to a flail to a mace to a cannon. I think come next chapter, we are going to see a machine gun or a ballista, and that is because Loki, like I said, when we ended the chapter, he was in his Nidhogg form. So to combat that, I think that Emu will start shooting at Loki. Of course, we've seen Emu with a gun before. You know, he did whip out a nice old shotgun against Barogi's wrist. So I think he's simply going to do that again. I think we're going to see a lot of crazy stuff coming out of his magic book - polearm. On to my fourth prediction. I do think that Hyrule moves. Yeah, I still don't think that Loki's going to get like a full 1v1. I do think that somebody will help him. And I, again, would love it if Hyrule joins Loki in battle. I know, power-wise, Hyrule is not that guy. He really isn't. I do not blame people for not liking Hyrule. But here's the thing. When it comes to the story, I love him. You know, this is King Harold's son, a guy who is aspiring to be king of all the giants in the world. I think he should participate in the battle against the man that killed his father. And he should join that battle alongside his younger brother. His younger brother is over here fighting Emu. I think Hyrule, on multiple levels, needs to be here. Even if he doesn't contribute a lot, I would love it if Hyrule steps in, I don't know, saves his younger brother, maybe assists a little bit, maybe throws some nice words at Emu. I do think that Hyrule could do that. And I would love it if he did. You know, again, that feels very shonen One Piece coded. So I could see it happening, as unrealistic as some people might think it is. I just think it's a shoo-in. Maybe we just get like an update on him. Like maybe he starts getting a new weapon. Maybe he starts, you know, talking to Yarl a little bit. You know, if you want to say he gets an upgrade first before he joins, that's fine too. I just think in general, Hyrule will make a move. But this is contingent on whether or not he's conscious. Because last we saw he did get hit with Maki, and we haven't seen him since. So who knows what his current condition is? Is he awake? Is he not? I think he is. You know, Zoro, while he was hit by Maki, he was still somewhat conscious. So I do think that Hyrule being awake and up and about, not super crazy. So next up, on to my fifth prediction. This is a really oddball one, but we haven't had it yet. I think we will get the Emu laugh. Yeah. You know, obviously a lot of One Piece characters have unique laughs. We haven't really gotten Emus yet. And now that Emu is smiling, keep in mind, he smiled at the end of last week's chapter. I think he's going to be laughing because he sees Nidhogg once more. Whether Nidhogg was an ally, whether Nidhogg was an enemy in the past, I think we will get an Emu laugh. And maybe it doesn't have anything to do with Nidhogg, and he's simply enjoying the battle. I feel like people don't really mind when I make this comparison, but when I think of Emu, I do somewhat think of Madara Uchiha. And when Madara came back to life and when he started fighting, he was laughing it up, dude. He was thriving on the battlefield. I think Emu could be the same way. Maybe he's just excited that he's finally able to make moves after all these years. So now, my sixth prediction. This is going to be a kind of a random one, but it is in the theory realm. I do think that Emu will... Ooh, how do I want to write this? Emu recognizes someone else. There we go. Yeah, so Emu obviously looked at Nidhogg and say, oh, so you really have returned. Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. 900 years ago, yeah, I'm sure Nidhogg was around. He knows what he's all about. But aside from Nidhogg, I think that Emu might recognize another key character or Zoan figure here in Elbpah. I don't know who. Again, it could be Hyrule, I guess. It could do with Loki's eyes. Maybe it's one of the Straw Hats. Maybe it's even Chopper, even though Emu just walked by Chopper and didn't really make any comments about him. I think that Emu will recognize someone else. You know, I would even give this to Luffy. If he looks at Luffy and he finally makes the connection and says Joy Boy to him, I would give that a W there. Again, he is the guy that knows everything that's going on in the world. I would love it if he just kept on dropping and leaking that lore. So now, on to the bottom row. These, of course, are all taken from the comment section, and the first one I found said that Sommers will aura farm in the Heaven Realm. Yeah, so this is pretty specific, but, you know, we, again, do not know where the God Knights are going. If they were going to the Heaven Realm, I think that would be interesting, because right now, we do not know what's even up there. Are the elders up there? Is there something important up there? Is that where Harold's grave is at? We have no clue. Literally, we entered Elbpah. Brogy gave us the structure saying, oh, you know, that's the underworld, that's the sun realm, and that's the heaven realm. Moving on. It's like, okay, wait. What's up there, man? You can't just simply drop the name Heaven Realm and just move on. So I would love it if we see what's up there, and potentially Sommers and the God Knights are the ones who will finally break the veil here. So now, on to the next common prediction. Somebody said that we would get a flashback, I think 2 people said this actually, of OG Nidhogg. Yes, that is right. Again, because Emu is so old, he could give us the good old World War II run back, and we could see the OG Nidhogg-War God, or whoever the Void Century counterpart was. And not just that, but they go on with a secondary theory that they were enemies, specifically. Enemies, not allies. Personally, I do lean more towards allies, but that is totally fine. Like, again, the Void Century is still just a giant question mark. So any and all theories are still pretty viable. Again, I do think they were allies, but I do not mind the opposite to be true. If they were enemies in the past, that is no skin off my bone. You know, as long as they know each other, I'm cool with it, brother. I'm cool with it. And now for the final comment prediction, they said that we would get a new Emu form. They went on to say full Zoan, but I think new Emu form is good enough right there. And I don't mind it. You know, of course, we do know that Emu has another form in general, because when they were fighting Sabo, they did, you know, get really big, started crawling down the throne. Of course, the mural, Emu took on a form that was much larger than everyone else. So yes, maybe the new Emu form is around the corner. And if Emu does get bigger, he could pick up the sword that is lodged in the Adam tree. So I don't mind it. So now for the hidden 10th prediction, this one's not going to count. I just feel like if I do not throw this up, somebody's going to be like, oh, Sai, what about this? This is an easy one. I don't always go for easy ones. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I just go with whatever feels right. But of course, Loki hybrid form is just a ghost that is just watching me in the corner. We all know it's coming eventually. A little bit unfortunate that, you know, we've been kind of getting this wrong every single week. But here we go. You know, I do think that Emu will finally drag this goddamn hybrid form out. Where do we even put this? You know, I'm not going to count this for anything. I just wanted to write it here. Let's put it like right here somewhere. Let's make it like really small, like contractual text. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now that we have all 9 predictions here on the board, you know exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go through and give all of these predictions arbitrary numbers based on how likely I think they are to happen. So, Robin and Saul update, I'm going to be really confident with this one. I'm going to swing for 90% chance. I mean, dude, let's be real, man. It's time to cut away. You know, I bet Oda, last chapter, he was like, I gotta show them what's up. What's going on around Elbpah right now? So yeah, Robin Saul update, I'm pretty confident. Straw Hats versus God Knights. Ooh, actually, I'm very low on this one. Not just because I'm not including Jinbei or Frankie, but because Saint Sommers left the Zoro scene. Saint Sommers left where Chopper was at. I don't know what they're up to. And then again, you know, throwing back to Killingham, we don't know where he's at either. Is he still around? Did he leave too? If they both left, then the chances of them fighting a Straw Hat are actually quite low. Do I go to 5%? Is this like my worst prediction? Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'm a meathead. You know, I love fights. I love good battles. That's why I like last chapter. But, you know, maybe this isn't in the cards and I'm just projecting here. So next up, gun or ballista. I'm going to go pretty high on this one. Emu's been very versatile with his weapons the last chapter. I don't think it's going to stop here. I think he will just keep on whipping out more and more brand new abilities. So I'm going to give this one an 85%. Hired moves. Is it too soon? Ooh, it could be too soon. Damn, yeah. He just got done in. But it's Loki's brother. It's Loki's brother. I'm going to go with 10%. No, 15%. Yeah, I want this to happen. Will it happen? I don't think so, man. I feel like next chapter might just be too soon. So next up, Emu Laugh. Funny enough, I feel good about this, you know? Do you guys ever like just write a theory out and you're like, you know what? That sounds good. That's how I feel about the Emu Laugh. I'm gonna give this one a 90% chance. Everybody laughs, right? Ooh. No. We did see Emu laughing in the Joy Boy panel. Yeah, okay. I was gonna say, does Emu laugh because he's a devil and he's like a bad guy right now? No. He laughs. So now, Emu recognizing somebody else. Again, this is what I want to happen. Is it realistic? Not so much, especially given what Emu's doing right now. Again, you could revisit some of these predictions like 5 chapters down the road. They might come right, but in the context of 1182, nah, I think Emu has his hands full. Sommers aura farming in the Heaven Realm. Funny enough, I think this is better than most of my predictions. So I'm going to give this one like a good old 35%. The reason I'm somewhat lowballing this at 35 is mainly just because it's like, yo, are we really going to the Heaven Realm next chapter? But in general, I do think we will see Sommers and he will be aura farming. Now, flashback of OG Nidhogg. I'm going to give this one a really high percentage. I'm going to give it 90%. You know, we got to remember, unwarranted, Emu gave us a Joy Boy panel. Literally. Just out of nowhere, isn't that right, Joy Boy? Oh, dude, nobody even mentioned Joy Boy, man. He was just going off on his own. So him having a flashback of OG Nidhogg, yeah, I think pretty highly on that one. As far as enemies, not allies, I mean, it's 50-50. So I'm going to give this one a good old 50% chance. Why not? Yeah, 50% chance. A new Emu form. I mean, Loki did just get bigger. Loki just got bigger. Last chapter, Loki, of course, Ancient Giant, Emu sized himself up to fight it. So would he size himself up again to fight Nidhogg? Who, you know, at first, I will admit, I was going to lowball this when I was like, okay, maybe like 15-20%. But the more I think about it, the more this seems somewhat plausible. Ooh. Yeah, if Oda does continue the fight, maybe like a 60. Yeah, that's a 60%er. Not bad. But, there you have it, Panda fans. We got our 9 predictions for chapter 1182 here on the board. Let me know your thoughts on all of this down below. Do you agree with some of this? Do you not agree with it? What are your predictions for the latest chapter? I would love to hear it down there, and I will catch you guys whenever the spoilers drop. Will they even drop this week? We have no clue. But again, I just wanted to get this out as soon as possible, just in case they are around the corner. And, yeah, peace out and stay safe, guys.